Hi, my name is Niina, and you're listening Together Through the Storms podcast. Welcome to the journey with me. I would like to begin by acknowledging traditional owners of the land where I'm recording this episode today, which is the Wurrung country. I would like to pay my respects to the elders past and present, and to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who may be listening today. Hi everyone, and welcome back Together Through the Storms podcast. Today we have a special guest visiting, and this is quite a special situation as I've never invited anyone into my recording area before. So today I have my husband Jude with me here, and we're going to hear a little bit about Jude's journey. But before we start, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I've lived in Australia for about 16 years, originally from England. I met Niina in Bali about 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Oh, better not get that wrong. It was an interesting story in itself. Niina was living in the Middle East, and then she moved to Australia, where we started a small family. So we have two beautiful girls, 3 and 4. They both have hearing disabilities, so they can't hear. They have dual cochlear implants on both children. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And I really appreciate you coming today to...
It's a long drive.
It was a long drive. Sharing journey from your perspective. So the listeners have already heard a bit from my perspective, but it's lovely to have you to bring a different perspective into the story, and also from Dad's perspective. So I think lots of listeners will be appreciative of hearing from you as a dad of 2 children with additional needs. Okay, time for the first question, which is the icebreaker question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect. So what's your favorite self-care routine, and how do you find time for that?
So, yeah, I find time when I can. The 2 kids keep me busy with work, preparing dinner. Most evenings I try and get for a walk. Just keep my head clear a bit. Drink beer occasionally, go to the football. Yeah, that's about it really.
Nice. Okay. Few questions I have around those favorite self-care routines, if you don't mind. When you go for a walk, do you like to listen to a podcast or music, or just the sound of nature?
I take my headphones and I listen to music, mainly house music.
Yeah. We have very different taste in music, just so you know.
I don't like the hippie stuff.
We make a good balance, don't we? And in terms of football, who do you go for?
Go for Geelong Cats.
Right. And in terms of beer, what's your favorite one?
Carlsberg or Cotton Dry.
Nice.
I love the European beers. They go nice, smooth.
That makes sense. All right. Thank you so much for that, Jude.
Thank you.
Right. It's time to go for the next question. And we would love to hear a little bit about the journey from your perspective, Jude. And before we go into that, I just want to highlight that we've been through quite a journey together, and it's really valuable that you're able to be sharing it today with us. So thank you for that. Would you be able to share with us what's your most challenging point of the journey and what helped you to overcome it?
Well, when I was growing up, I had problems with speech myself, which I can now see in the children. So I have problems saying certain words, and I don't speak very clearly sometimes, and people don't understand me. So I've always found that hard to deal with as a person. But now seeing the kids grow and develop, I'm worried about how they would be affected by it as well, which you see I'm struggling with words and people not understanding what they're saying. I find it quite hurtful sometimes, personally, but it's something I've just learned to sort of put it to one side and be like, well, they're going to learn to get around that. Their speech is developing quite well, considering they're delayed, obviously. It's moving forward in the right direction, and we can only give them the support we can provide, I guess, and what we found. And I think me and Niina were both on the same page where we wanted to offer them Auslan and the hearing worlds together as a whole, and not try and go down one path. So that's how I felt strongly with a lot of decisions we make, how we navigate through this is look, we try and give them all the options so when they're ready to make that decision later in life, they've got the foundations of that to build on anyway, and they haven't been led just down one side of the path and then they're like, oh, well, we never had that opportunity, but we're just trying to give them the best of both worlds.
And it's quite likely that they're going to use both well. So I don't think they will ever probably choose one or the other, but it will be.
I would hope not. I'd hope they would use both. With our eldest daughter, I see her more attracted to the sign-ins community. She learns a lot of her words, or very early on, she learns a lot of her words. She learned the sign first, then the words. So seeing that and the way she responds to sign language, and she's amazed by it, and she's always wanting to learn more, and she's very excited to be around that environment. So we try and just give them the best of both.
Thank you for sharing about your personal journey as well. When you're in a situation that somebody can't understand one of your daughters, like let's say you're in the public and they say something and people can't understand,
Well,
you mentioned that it feels quite hurtful.
yeah, but we get that ourselves. So we had an incident last night where the youngest daughter was trying to say something and we thought she was saying one word. I don't know if it was tiredness or, but it's kind of heartbreaking when you can't understand your own kids, to be quite honest. When other people do it, it just hurts. Like it's the same as when it happens to us, but it's just hard seeing and watching. It's life. They're going to get through this. They'll be fine, but it's something you just learn to deal with, really.
And how do you approach it? Do you mention something to other people about their hearing loss, or do you just like ignore it, or what's your approach?
It depends on the situation. Sometimes you just say they're hard of hearing, they don't speak very clearly, they're delayed, and to explain the situation, never had an issue really, but it's just seeing that situation really. People are fine. A lot of people go out of their way to help. So
And I guess it comes down to some level of worry as well, because it's hard to see to the future, and
yeah,
you just kind of worry that we're there at the moment to scaffold them and support them,
yeah,
but we won't always be there. Do you feel like there's a bit of that we
yeah.
always be there to explain to other people what they're saying?
It's a fear of them missing out on stuff as well. Actually, with daycare and kinders, they've made friends with other hearing kids and people with hard of hearing as well, which was really nice to see. We were sort of worried, would they adapt into a world and find friends? But they have, and they've done pretty well. So that's a really good thing to see, and that's helps a lot. So
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I obviously, as a co-parent, can really relate to that emotion, and I think we share that pain sometimes of
yeah,
wanting for the best for your child. But like you said, it's the best feeling seeing that they're making friends and they're adapting into the community around them.
the thing is, it's easy to get caught up on the negatives, I believe, and then you have to always look at the positives in the situation. We are pretty blessed with our girls. They're good girls.
Right. So the next question will be around what are some of your most precious memories or moments during this journey? And you kind of made a connection to that a little bit already in the challenges part, where you said that you tried to look at it from positive perspectives and not just focus on the negatives. And I thought that was really valuable perspective. But if you look at the journey from when our girls were born until where we are at the moment, can you think of something very precious or something very memorable that you can mention that has made an impact on you?
The way they've communicated with each other has changed. So the eldest used to sign a lot to the youngest, which the youngest didn't really have much idea what was going on. And then they developed their own sort of language, which involved a lot of pointing and a lot of It was quite sweet to watch that. And the other day I was just watching them play and they were communicating with words, and it was so sweet just to see them actually using words and being able to talk to each other properly for the first times. And that's great to see how they've developed in their journey for themselves. And probably my other proudest moment was when the eldest brought home a picture just of me, Dad, written on it. And I was just like, yeah, that's so cool. I haven't had one from the youngest yet, but hopefully that's in the post soon. But
Any day now.
any day, yeah. The eldest definitely excels herself with her drawings. So she develops well in some areas, probably above average, I'd say.
Compensate.
Yeah, so there's a lot of compensation from where she's learnt to use other avenues to communicate and developed other skills quicker than what she naturally would if she had a hearing, I guess. But yeah, that's good to see as well.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Next question is about some lessons that you have learned during this journey. So there's been lots of ups and lots of downs, but what could you pinpoint have been the most valuable lessons for you during this journey of yours?
Learn to support you with all of this, I guess. Has been one of the things I've learned today. Not that I didn't support you before, but there's definitely been a lot of challenges. Niina's dealt with a lot of the situations with surgeries and taking the appointments up to Melbourne, etc. So supporting her with that. We had a few cancelled surgeries. One actually happened the night before. So Niina herself had spent 2 weeks isolating, which she had to do before surgery with the two girls. And then getting a phone call the night before with a cancer surgery was pretty heartbreaking, to be quite honest. Not only they didn't get the cochlear, but we had to go through all of that again with isolation, the other wait of 3 months or whatever it was for the next surgery. Yeah, it was quite a big ordeal at the time. Now we look back at it and it's just one of the hurdles you have to face, and it's not really a big deal, but at the time it was an absolute chaos.
Felt like the end of the world.
Yeah, it always happened during COVID as well. So there was isolations happening all over the place anyway, and then there's extra isolations for us, and it was a crazy time. But supporting you through that was something I learned to deal with.
And we have I don't know if you want to open that up a little bit, but we have very different roles. Like we're in the same team, but different players.
Yeah.
In different, I don't know the football terms, but like in different sections of the field. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like we have
I'm more a manager. Definitely not the case.
Do you want to open that a little bit more? Like, how do you see our roles?
How I see our roles? You deal with all the hard stuff, like I said, the surgeries and all that, and I'll just stand by you and push you through and help you and give you the time or anything you need. Like if you need a break, I'll try and take the kids, give Niina a bit of a break, do what I can really to support her. There's a lot of talking involved.
That's sometimes really difficult because I'm more, I guess, like hands-on in those everyday, weekly appointments and updates. And sometimes just finding that time between us when I can give you an update of what's happening with, like, what are the most recent goals for each girl in terms of speech, or what has been happening at daycare, or what behaviors have we been seeing between the girls, or like just having that time to fill you in and talk together, like how we're going to manage this. And so I find that sometimes really challenging because we're both tired from our work as well. So
it takes a lot of energy to have the extra energy to deal with the extra stuff you have to do, like dealing with a 2 and 3 year old just naturally without the extra appointments, and just looking after kids is crazy anyway, but everything thrown in on top is just a horrendous ordeal really.
But we play pretty well as a team, I feel.
Yeah, we kind of both are on the same page, that helps a lot. So when we have a situation, we both sort of have the same solution in our heads, so that helps a great deal rather than both being on completely different pages. Yeah, but being on the same page with most of the stuff helps a lot.
I think with big questions, we've always been on the same page.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a time when we've disagreed.
I actually can't really recall a time we've actually really disagreed on something, to be quite honest. I think
like a big...
No, like with any of the stuff really, we've always both been on the same page, maybe slight different on the idea, but it's always been down the same path, I feel.
In terms of our personalities and how we manage under stressful situations, do you feel like we're much the same or a bit different?
I think we're a bit different. You sometimes go into a panic mode and then absolute meltdowns left, right and centre. I can see where the kids get that from. But yeah, whenever there's a problem, I'm always trying to find a solution to fix that problem, I guess. So the roles are quite different.
Feel like since the start of our journey with our girls, we have adjusted those roles and how we respond to situations. So I feel like, especially at the start, I was definitely more in a panic mode when something happened.
It was very overwhelming for you. There's a lot to take on. There's a lot going on in this situation. Over time.
But I feel like you were always the rock for me.
Yeah.
That when I was like, oh my God, a cancelled surgery, I was beside myself. You were always the one who pulled me back and saw the solution and saw like a way out, whatever it was.
Yeah, there's always going to be speed bumps in these situations. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to work itself out in the end, I guess. You just got to keep pushing and realise that there is that light. You're heading the right way, and you just have to keep swimming. Like, there's not much else you can do. But sometimes you do really feel like you're drowning. There's been days where I'm just like, I don't know, help for today, like, but we got through it. There's a few bottles of wine here and there, I think, but that's how it goes.
And I think I've learned a lot from you as well in terms of how to manage challenging situations. So in terms of, there's a sudden change, something doesn't go right. Earlier, I would have just gone beside myself, but now I can more catch my breath, think about solution, what can we do instead, make quick decisions. And I feel like a lot of that comes from you.
Oh, thank you. You've just got to take a step back from the situation sometimes and take a deep breath and just be like, right, this sounds like the end of the world, but how many times have you had that in your life where you're like, oh man, this situation is way beyond me, but it always works out in the end somehow. So you just have to remember that there's a way and you will find it. It's just finding it. It's thinking clearly.
But I would see that one of probably the values of this journey is that you do a lot of growth within yourself and how you problem solve. So I think we've, in a way, taught each other a lot as well.
Definitely.
Is there any other valuable lessons that you feel like this journey has taught you?
Well, we discovered that we're not alone in this journey. There's other families going through similar situations. There's a support network out there. It was quite hard for us to find our support network. It took a while, but we've got a very good one now. Yeah, but it was quite hard, I feel, finding the right support and getting it in place. But once it was in place, it all clicked into place one day and it just got so much easier. It was amazing. It just went like that, really, didn't it? It was pretty awesome.
A lot of hard work went into finding that, but yeah, it did feel in the end.
A lot of hard work for you.
Oh yeah, but you have to find the right people and it doesn't happen at the start.
It did feel at the time there was a lack of support there as well. We couldn't find an Auslan tutor for a long time. It was quite hard to find, but we found an excellent one, which we were really happy about.
Any other lessons? How many more do you have?
I've had quite a lot of lessons in life, but it's just all about learning to accept them for who they are, our kids. And yeah, we're moving forward and in the right direction is the way. And I wouldn't change them for the world, that's for sure. They make me smile every day still, so they make me cry some days, but yeah, it definitely made me smile more than cry, so that's a good thing.
I think that's wonderful. Wow, it's been interesting time together, Jude. Thank you so much for coming for my guest today.
For having me.
I think we've had some very valuable discussions together and hopefully our listeners get something out of it as well. I think you will be re-invited, so just wait for that invitation.
Oh, great. I can't wait.
Would you come again?
Depends how much you're paying me for, maybe.
Well, let's save that conversation behind the scenes. But thank you so much for joining us for Together Through the Storms podcast today. If you like this episode, feel free to share that with some of your friends on the social media. Also, follow my podcast on Spotify and share any thoughts, any feedback you have on my Instagram account. I would love to hear from you. Look forward to see you next time. Thanks. Bye bye.